but we sell a lot off market. So last year, my team sold 40% off market.
Holy jeez.
No, I'm sorry, 40 million, 30% off market.
Still a big number.
My boyfriend's teenage daughter was in the car while I was having this conversation. She looked at me when we hung up and she goes, "You just gave away like almost $2,000 and you didn't even blink." I'm like, I've done it where it's like in a building that you need to be on a required list and those guys are booked years in advance. And I brought in my, I was like, put on a nicer jacket. And then I had a big tote bag. It was repairing a door, And I said, "This is my uncle." And we went in and we just fixed it. We got around it.
Today's episode is brought to you by my good friend Andy Bovender, the founder of the Bovender team out of the Carolinas. Him and his team work in 5 different areas within the Carolinas. So if you have that client who's been thinking about making a move to or from the area, they are absolutely the referral partners to call. Today's episode is with Jillian Adler out of Boston, and we talk about collaboration, how important it is to communicate with the agents within your own community, learn from them, share with them, and they will ultimately help you build a better book of business. With that, if you want to hang out with Jillian and other amazing past guests of the episode and learn directly from them, check out the link to the Inner Circle group. It's a group we meet 2 times a month and we talk shop. We share best practices, good ideas, and sometimes you get advice of what not to do, which is equally important. And additionally, you'll build out your referral partnerships. And as always, I'm your referral partner out of San Francisco, Sean Conkler. Get all nervous?
Yeah, I did. I'm like,
shake it off.
Posture.
We're live.
Hi.
Here we go.
Okay.
Jillian, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me. This is nice.
Of course. Based on our quick pre-chat, I feel like this is just going to be such a good, fun conversation with you.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm excited.
I really, one thing that stood out to me that you shared, and I've known you and I've known of you for years, but your whole philosophy of the quality over quantity. And I feel like that's just it's something people throw around, but you and your business partner, you guys actually walk the walk.
We do.
How do you do it?
It's interesting. We are in a field right now where it feels like everybody is moving toward mega teams, right? And you want to be able to service, and what are your numbers and how does that work out? That to me floats to the background, right? 100% of my business is referral. So I treat every single client, no matter the price point, like they're the most important person in the room, because they are how I create my business. And I think for them, they need to know that when they call or email or want to see a property, that it's going to be me. They've hired me, so that is my job, right? And I think different people in different states and different neighborhoods, they all do it differently. But for me, I find that works best because I am a freak about quality control. I just want to make sure every client feels like they have the best experience.
I agree. Have you watched The Bear?
Yes. I'm the real estate chef.
Yeah, and there was a line in the movie where the head chef says, "Everything is everything."
Yes.
And I just that quote just keeps rattling around in my head because it's so applicable to our business.
It is.
It's like every conversation means everything to that person hearing it.
Totally.
And so it's like all these little micro communications showing up. Who shows up? How do they show up? How is it presented? That's especially in a place like you are, talking to very high net worth individuals who are in pretty important positions within companies. They don't have time to dilly-dally.
And they want to know, our clients in the AI age, in the internet age, right? Like they can find out a lot, right?
100%.
What I think is so great about Compass and our team highly, highly focuses on is coming soon, private exclusives. And I don't know, I know everybody's rules and everyone's states are different about it, but we sell a lot off market. So last year, my team sold 40% off market.
Holy jeez.
No, I'm sorry, 40 million, 30% off market.
Still a big number.
Huge number. And what I find that my clients come to me for is like, when they're looking at the comps, they can figure it out, right? But I'm
Yes.
like, so what you don't know is this one, you never saw it because you weren't looking then, right? But this one was very similar to that, but this one is better or worse. And I think that that means that the price point and where this will ultimately trade is going to be here instead of here, even though these are what you're seeing for the comps, because there are 2 or 3 other properties on your street or right next door, that are going to dictate where that moves. So I think having like a huge knowledge and presence of your exact neighborhood makes it so everything is everything and you can speak knowledgeably about it.
Yeah. I agree. And I feel that's the thing. That's the big wow, I can speak this morning.
I know. I'm like, I'm caffeinated over here. I've eaten. It's early for
I'm
you.
like, it's early. I'm on the opposite coast, so that's my
Yeah.
excuse.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh, so I was saying the differentiator is sure, a client can say, hey, this property sold, but I can jump in and say, yes, and they received 4 offers. The top 2 were cash. The remaining had no contingencies. They closed in 7 days.
Yeah.
And so now I have way more nuance. So when they then look at the next property and they're like, do you think it's going to be competitive? Well, the 2 properties they're a block apart. You know that this number of people just
3 people
lost,
didn't get it.
and they're now going to move over to the next property, highly likely. And then it's probably going to add some. So yes, it's going to be competitive. And it's probably going to land in this neighborhood virtue of that. And it's like that's the thing that they're looking for.
That's the tidbit, right? Like that's the stuff that you can't like find on Compass or Zillow or like
Exactly.
it's that knowledge. And I'm very much of the mindset that like I don't want to send anyone anything that doesn't add value to them, right?
Same.
So like
Same.
my newsletters, are more so like case studies, right? Like what happened in the South End last weekend of these 3 properties, this one went this way and this one, stuff that like they can't just go find out themselves. I want to provide for that because I feel like that is a huge reason why people hire us, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's to your point, they can Google or ChatGPT literally everything at this point. And so how do you then provide something that they don't have access to? And I feel the underlining point to this is the agent to agent community and collaboration is paramount. It's paramount. It like sharing that with a colleague so they then share it with you in the future it's huge. And I see it and I hear it in this podcast and it's funny and it's ironic, but the more successful people become in this business, and I would assume 99% of all businesses, the more they're willing to share.
100%. And at the end of the day, we need that information that's not public so that we can price the next thing appropriately, so we can offer on the next house appropriately, and people call me and and they ask me, hey, what happened on that house you listed? And then I call them and, we all need each other. So I think that, being good to other agents is also incredibly important.
Yeah. And I mean, I also feel that the math is they're not your competition. The
No.
amount of times that you can collaborate is exponentially higher than compete. And the reality is, if you're representing a buyer and they're representing a buyer and you're writing on the same property, you don't even know you're competing against them. So who cares?
No.
And then there's then that 0.01% chance that you go to a listing and you're competing.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, at the end of the day, we all have certain skills, certain mindsets, certain backgrounds that buyers and sellers will either be drawn to or not, right?
Correct.
So
Agreed.
I think, you proceed with your strengths and, you get hired if that aligns with sort of the philosophy of the buyer and the seller. And if it doesn't, and, they interview multiple people, like that is their choice. This is America. There's someone for everyone. And I feel like as long as you know what you do really, really well,
Yeah.
and you focus on that, you will find the buyers, I think, that align with you and the sellers that align with you.
I agree. I mean, I feel like it's not dissimilar from any brand out there.
No.
Like we're consumers. That's just the reality. And within that, we resonate with certain brands.
100%.
Like that's what marketing is. That's what branding is. It's to then isolate and attract that one group.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're not all wearing the same coat,
Right.
from coast to coast across the board in the same color and the same cut and the same style. Like
Like Boston can get a little vanilla. Sometimes everyone's
is
wearing.
it the Patagonia vest?
Oh yes.
I mean, it's
Like that's the fall coat, right? And then the winter coat is, the Canada Goose or the Montclair. And then, we're a much smaller city than New York, right? So
yeah.
that's an interesting part of our business is that we are a city, but we feel like a small town. So I always just try to be good to everyone because we are like Kevin Bacon on Degrees of Separation. That person is going to know someone who or is one removed from someone you know. So just, sort of good and kind and honest and fair is the way to handle it here.
It's funny, but San Francisco is 7 by 7 miles,
Yep.
which is smaller than Disney's parking lot.
He's crazy. I don't want to park in this parking lot either. That sounds awful.
I think, right? It's like parking on one side of it and having to walk to the other.
Yeah.
That sounds like pure hell. But literally everybody knows everybody. Like I was talking to one of my good friends who's an agent, and he's like, "Oh, I'm helping this person who owns this business," and I was like, "Really?" I said, "The business partner of your client is my friend's wife."
Of course. Yeah.
And he's like, "No way." And then we were like talking about that for a minute, but it's like literally everybody knows everybody, and it's the weirdest. It's just bizarre. And so there's agents who leave a trail of broken glass, and there's everybody else. And I always refuse to do that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that, we are very similar to like a brand or something where people resonate or they don't, but buying and selling a home for any number of reasons that you're doing it, unless you're an investor, is so highly emotional for them, right? Because it's either like it's your first home, so this is the biggest financial purchase you're ever going to make,
Yeah.
or you're getting married, or you're pregnant, or you're having your second kid, or your third kid, or you're retiring, or you're downsizing, you're empty nesting, you're getting divorced, somebody died. Like there's always, I try to keep that sort of at front of mind because when you contextualize it that way, I think it's really easy to remember like what we do has such a bigger effect on people. Like this is the next step of their lives. And need to be mindful of that, and I think sometimes that gets lost.
I agree. One of my friends, Susan Cornish, she was sharing with me her style, and she says to her clients, "And I'll hold space for you."
Yeah.
Because it gets emotional, it gets weird, it gets hard, it gets challenging, and she's like, "I'll just hold space for you." And I always thought that
I
was
like that.
it's just such a nice way to look at it because I work with a lot of tech engineers, which are very similar. They're wired very similarly to finance, which I know you work with a lot of finance. And they want the data, but the reality is, I will argue this to the nth degree, is at the end of the day, it's emotional decision.
Yeah.
It's all of that stuff goes into something that's hinged to an emotion,
Yeah.
and that's really the person you're communicating with.
Yeah.
And it's they want that other stuff to kind of get through the filters.
They need that, right? It needs to like siphon through, right? And then it
Correct.
gets to a point, I always say real estate, it's a delicate balance of art and science, right? Because there's
100%.
science behind it. But then there's an art to it as
Yeah.
to like looking at your client, understanding, particularly for people who are coming or moving here from out of state, or they're not as familiar. It's like,
Yeah.
where should you live now that I know what you like to do, what sports you like, how you spend your weekends. Oh, you go to, you go up north to ski. Okay, well, we should sort of probably
Yeah.
focus over there, like on the northern side of the city, so you can get up to your mountain, right? Or you go down to the Cape Cod. Okay, so we should maybe focus
Yeah.
on this side. Like, how are we getting you into a position where the neighborhood's right for you, commute is right for you, lifestyle is right for you, and you really got to hear it and keep space.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny when I first got into the business, I didn't understand that science, the art part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Walking into a property and you walk in and you hear people as they walk in, there's an audible wow as they see a panoramic view of the Golden Gate Bridge
Yeah,
out of the living room window.
totally.
And then to try to put that into dollars and cents in value,
Mm-hmm.
because not every home has that.
And do they align, right?
Right.
Um,
In
and sometimes they really do, and there's always a range. And the range, if it's a $50,000 range, it's like, how much does it mean to you? Is it $1,000?
Yeah.
Is it $50,000? Right? And then you have people who just do make emotional decisions. Like, I had a client buy a single family home in the South End, and I was like, I don't have a comp for this. Like, this is not going to appraise, but
Yeah.
they were stuck on one street. They wanted one street, had to be a single family, had to have a certain square footage. So
That's
I
amazing.
compile the data. There's 4 of them. One of
Yeah.
them has been owned by somebody for 50 years, so we can assume it's not in great shape just based on the exterior. The other
Yeah.
2 were recently sold. That leaves this one. So if you are that particular, and I say it doesn't appraise, and it certainly did not, it came in like $1 million below. It would appraise much higher today, but they bought it because that was what they wanted, right? So everyone's different.
There was a case, it was during COVID, and there was a house that sold. I don't remember the stats. It was bonkers. It sold for like I'm not exaggerating, $1.5 million over the comps. It was flipping nuts. And I called the agent, and
What happened?
this goes back to, yeah, this goes back to my point of collaboration. And I said, bro, what happened?
Yeah.
And he goes, the next door neighbors are their kids. And the parents wanted to be next to their grandkids. And this house came up and they had cash and it was hell or high water. They
They're
were
gonna do it.
getting this house.
It
And it
happens.
was not a debate. It
Yep.
was get out of my way. We're buying it. And he was straight up with me. He's like, don't use it as a comp. It doesn't,
Doesn't make any sense,
it
right?
doesn't, it's not real.
Yeah.
And that happens. Like there are cases of when that happens, but for the layperson or the person who's just cruising Redfin, not having that story, that can bury you buying your property. Like you decide then to write an offer and you're like, wow, that's a really hot block. I don't know why, but I have to have it. And now you're buried
Right.
and you'll
And on
never
the
be able
sell
to get out
side,
of it.
right, you hire somebody to list your home, and the seller doesn't know, and you're looking at that as the direct comp, and now you're overpriced,
Yeah.
and now you're going to sit on the market. And I am never one to really believe in overpricing. I like to price dead on accurate,
Yeah.
there or below. That is also, I think, the beauty of being off market is you can test, right? And sort of test the higher end, which I do
Yes.
all the time. But if you don't know that street, you don't know that backstory, and
Yeah.
you're just using that as a comp, like that's not going to work for you, right? And you're going to end up selling it for less than you would have had you priced appropriately to start.
We do in the city, we do broker's tour. And
Mm-hmm.
so every Tuesday we open up the properties for certain hours for just
Mm-hmm.
agents.
Yep.
Clients, of course, can come, but it's mostly agents just run through properties. And when I started my the manager of my office, she was like, to start, only go to properties that you've never heard of the street name. And I was like, that was brilliant because it really got me savvy to, oh, this is that little alley that runs in between these two major streets and blah blah blah. And I even now every once in a while a street will come up, I'm like, I've never heard of that, where is it? And it's like, oh my goodness. And so, but that tunes you, if you can really tune into that one hyper specific area, you're head and shoulders above everybody else. And as I shared, San Francisco's tiny, and we have
Right.
over a
Boston,
hundred.
Boston is too.
There's
Yeah.
100 neighborhoods here.
Yeah.
Like a lot to learn.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No.
I'd be willing to bet the hardest part of your day isn't the work. It's the mental load. It's the decision fatigue. It's the shuffling of priorities while you're already playing catch up. You're checking off things from your to-do list just as fast as they're getting added. And I'd also be willing to bet some of those meaningful business relationships you've had in the past have begun to fade. Ace Your Day is a physical deck of 52 strategic cards designed to halt fatigue. Refined by real world results, this system replaces chaos of a to do list with a curated set of high impact actions. It's simple: set a timer for 15 minutes, draw a card, and make your move. The deck handles the thinking, you drive the business. Building a secure business should not be a guessing game. Let's stop overthinking the day and trust a system that prioritizes connections and relationships. Let the deck handle the strategy. You focus on the results. Click the link in the description to reclaim your day 15 minutes at a time. Changing gears a little bit, I want to talk about an opportunity and a gap in the market that you saw when it came to actually presenting and packaging these listings that you
Mhm.
had, and then using staging, which I know a lot of the cities use it, or it's becoming more popular. And it's kind of picking up, but I would love to kind of dig into when you started to do that and why and how that ball started to get rolling.
Yeah, my business partner and I, like 12 years ago, it was a one bedroom and we, got it staged. And, 12 years ago, the real estate market was very different, right? Like none of us had Instagram, none of us had social media, no, we weren't presenting videos and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
you know, the standards weren't as high as they are today, but like they were still there.
Yeah.
And the stager came in and did their thing and it was just awful. We were like, this looks worse when
That's
it
so
was just empty, and I never think a house looks good empty, right? So we told him to take it all back. It's a one bedroom. We need couch, a coffee table, a couple of rugs, a couple of chairs, you know, a bed, a headboard. It's easy, right? And
yeah.
that's how it started. And then it was like, oh, okay, so we can do the next one bedroom, right? And that's something we can offer our clients. And then it was two bedrooms. Then it was three bedrooms. And then it
Hmm.
was like we were like tagging up like the Restoration Hardware outlet and some other like local furniture companies when they would have their like semi-annual sale. Be like,
Yeah.
bring the U-Haul. We're just gonna load stuff up. And then it really sort of blossomed from there.
Yeah.
We stick to really transitional pieces, but I also have no problem buying pieces, expensive or inexpensive, for any listing that I have. My business partner recently, great house, just like rugs to me make a difference. It, really needed a cut rug because it had a bow front window. So she went and she bought cut rugs. And at the end of the day, they were so perfect. The buyer bought them off us. You know what I mean? And because they were
Yeah.
cut for the space. So I had no problem spending some money there because I do think that is like what wins us a lot of our listings.
Hmm.
Because our stat is, if the Boston market is trading at 99% of list price, we are trading at 106. So we are like roughly 6.5%.
That's amazing.
Our listings are, sell reps. We are trading 6.5% above the market. And a huge
That's
part of
high.
it is
I th-
preparation.
I think it's usually in our market, it's like 3 to 4% is a
We
staged
go above and
property.
beyond. So it is, of course, it's the staging, but it's also
Yeah.
preparation, right? So
Yeah.
my contractors are coming out. They are repainting. Do I need to resand floors? Do I
Yeah.
think that we're gonna, paint the cabinets for $4,000 and that's gonna net us another 10? We're gonna do that. So I will spend a month, 2 months prepping a house if I have to.
Yeah.
with my clients understanding, okay, this is going to be, a total of a $10,000 expenditure, but because we are so stats based, she feels like 90% confident that 10,000 will net me another 60. We'll do it. And I think when you think about that 6.5%, right, on $1 million property, it's an extra $65,000. Like that's real money
Yeah.
to someone upon a sale.
Yeah, and additionally, I recently had a property in a neighborhood that was harder to sell, and there were two other properties in the complex that had one sat for a month, one sat for 2 months, and the prep, staging it to your point, redoing the floors, painting, zhuzhing it up, putting in killer staging.
Killer.
I
Has to be good.
It's got to be killer. I always tell my clients, listen, I have to have the first photo scroll stopping. And if I'm not, I'm dead in the water. And I will never get them off the couch and into your property. And so the way that I get that is by good staging. The way good staging is going to be showcased is by having a really nice floor and beautiful walls.
Totally.
It's like I got to connect all those dots. And in this property, the stat wasn't I got them more money, but the stat was I got them we put it on the market on Friday.
Totally.
We had showings on Saturday, Sunday. We were in contract with 2 offers on Monday. And I wasn't above the comps,
Right.
but the days on market and the aggravation saved is
Huge.
paramount. Like
Huge.
it's so important. It's sad and it's hard when the client has that aha moment after the fact,
It's
and
right.
and they have to take that leap of faith with you. That's always the hard part.
Totally.
But
I think
yeah, it's
whether it's days on to differentiate if you're in a building like that where there's 2 or 3 other units on, it's like you
yeah.
have to differentiate yourself somehow. And it's crazy. People fall in love with furniture. They just walk in, and if it feels really calming and neutral and happy and good energy, like and there's something very similar next door, they're just gonna pick the one that they feel good in, you know?
And how many times have you had clients say that? You're like,
Mhm.
what did you love about this property? I don't know. It just felt good. The
Mhm.
energy was there. And
Yeah.
I'm like, these are not tangibles. Like I can't work with it.
No.
But that's to your point. It's like the lighting was right. Everything was clean and open. Their eyes didn't stumble onto that scratch on the floor, the scuff on the wall, or like it just kind of everything flowed. I've had clients look at properties and like, oh, the IKEA staging was horrible. And you're like, yeah, but look past that. Like
Or like the orange walls, and I'm like,
oh,
easiest thing in the world to fix, right? But some people, that's the thing, is like a lot of people who are spending a lot on a property, they don't, they're not sitting there envisioning the same way a realtor, a designer, an architect, or a contractor is. Like,
buyers have no
you have
vision.
to be able to feel it and get it immediately.
Immediately. They have 95% of buyers have no vision of what it could be.
No.
And post COVID, they don't want to do it anyways. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to wait a week to move in.
COVID really changed the game too, because
100%.
it really did feel like, they would just walk around on a Saturday in their desired neighborhood and just hit all the open houses, even if they knew they weren't going to like them. Now, if your like first 2 to 3 photos aren't like perfection, they're like, oh, that's no good. I'm not going to go. And then you're sitting, and now you've got a problem.
Yeah. I mean, for us in the city, if you miss that first 2 weeks,
You're toast.
you're dead. Like
Yeah.
you're literally dead in the water, and you're just like scrambling to climb out of it at that point. And something's wrong. Like it either doesn't look good, the
Price.
pricing's off. It's usually price.
It's usually price.
It's 99% of the time it's
Yeah.
price. Like I don't think people realize how much, like the average seller realizes how crucial that hitting that perfect number really genuinely is.
I agree. And I think that a lot of sellers think that, like, all right, like I'll list it. If it doesn't happen, like someone will offer me less. And I don't know what it's like in San Francisco, but it's interesting. Like the mentality in Boston, even though we are not in like a 2.5, 3.5% like mortgage where everything's getting 10 plus offers anymore. There's
Yeah.
still like a mentality around it of like, okay, I'll wait for them to make a move on their price before I start offering significantly under, right? So I think a lot
Yeah.
of sellers are like, we'll put it on at this price, see if anyone hits it. If not, someone will offer less. And it's like the mentality for buyers on that just isn't there yet.
100%. We in the city 2 decades ago started to auction price
Mhm.
properties, and still to this day, if you wanted attention, list it for 10 to 20% below. But it's
Yeah.
got to be like very strategic as to how you do it.
Timings.
And I've had those scenarios where I'm like, oh, it's a different property, it's in a different building. Let me price it at expectations. And I've had so many buyers come in saying, wow, why are you priced so high?
Hmm.
And you're like, it's actually at value. It's
Yeah.
exactly where it comps.
Yeah.
And like the cultural perception is completely somewhere else. And so
Totally.
like knowing all of these little things, or which neighborhoods err to the 20% versus which
Hmm.
neighborhoods err to the 5%,
Hmm.
it's crucial. I mean, it's
And
and
time is
oh,
crucial.
timing is so hard.
So it's impossible, but it's, certain neighborhoods when to push off market, when to push right to market,
Yes.
it's you just
Yeah.
got to be mindful of that. And working with the expert in your neighborhood, I think is important.
Yeah, and then marrying that with what events are happening in the city, what holidays are coming up, when we're in a transient city, when do people just leave? When are they just not here? They're skiing, or they're out for the weekend, or they're back home for the holidays. Like what's all happening then? And
Yeah. July,
yeah,
August, like people have fled Boston and they are on the Cape, they're in Nantucket, they're in the vineyard. We have very sad weather right now, right? Like, so
yeah,
for us, like, we have to take advantage of our summers because,
yeah, yeah. You have a window.
it's real cold. Yeah, it's like I think it's 11 degrees right now.
Oh my God.
Or it might be like 20 something, but the real feel is 11. It is like, the wind hurts your face.
Oh my
So
God.
you have to be mindful that in August, people are like,
I
I
feel like
gotta
such a jerk right now for what I'm about to say, but I'm in my
okay.
studio and my window's open.
If I left my window open right now, I think I'd get frostbite.
You'd be like shivering as we do this. Your lips are blue.
So,
Yeah, I find it fascinating. I've never had this type of conversation with somebody literally on the complete opposite coast, and seeing the exact parallel between the two cities, and
yeah,
even the client mentality of how they're thinking and looking at properties.
I really agree. I think Boston and San Francisco have a lot of similarities in the sense they're smaller,
Yeah,
hyper educated.
yeah,
They expect a lot, and I don't know what it's. I can't speak for San Francisco. Boston, it's not flashy. You know,
yeah. San
Like, my
Francisco's not.
clients don't wanna be on TV, they don't wanna be quoted, they don't, wanna feel like they're on a, real estate reality show, like,
Yep.
they want they want professionalism, they don't want someone who's gonna waste their time, they want somebody who can give them information they can't get themselves.
Yeah,
So, I think that's where, like, New York, LA, Miami, like, I feel like
it's different.
that's, like, fun to me, like, you're just seeing amazing places that all feel and look differently, and the clients are very, you know, they're in media or they are
Yeah.
athletes, they're different. I think Boston and San Francisco share very similar, like, client base.
That's an interesting perspective or observation. I would agree. I
Yeah.
mean, it's funny. And now I'm like thinking, I sold a property, my record sale, and
Mhm.
my client, I'm not kidding, he would show up with boots, Carhartts, and a flannel because he worked in that field. And it
Right.
was like, that was just how he dressed. But like, if you saw him on the street, you wouldn't think his net worth was what it was. And I've had other similarly, now that I think about it, the tech, they show up in, Jordans and a hoodie,
Yeah.
and same thing. And they're
You know,
like, they're paying in cash, and you'd have no idea if you pass them on the street. You'd have, first of all, no idea who they are. Then you look them up and you're like, oh my God.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So there's,
exactly, there is no like flamboyance, and sometimes other agents will look at you and be like, how old is this person? And you're like, that's just, they're just being who they are. And I think that being authentic, like to yourself and to these people, like it makes them relate to you so much more. But like one of
yeah.
my biggest sales, really sweet couple, probably in their 60s, he was
Mm,
the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He took the T. He took the subway to the closing, and it came with 2 valet parking spaces, and it was a Prius. Like these people are completely unassuming,
yeah.
and it just doesn't have sort of like the pizzazz or shine, I think, of some of
Yeah.
the bigger cities. But their requirements from you are then different, right? So it's like, if people always say, "Oh, do you watch Selling Sunset or any of these shows?" And I'm like, I could never speak like that. I could never talk like my clients don't look like that. I could never. I'm like OSHA violation. These girls in heels, like I'm like,
Heels in a construction site.
yeah,
You can't do that.
I'm like that. That's not even real.
They
But like
tried
Boston and San Francisco have a lot of similarities for sure.
years ago. They did the what's that real
Million
estate
dollar,
show? Yes, they tried a San Francisco one and it bombed.
it
It
did because
bombed.
it's not interesting,
Well,
to masses.
and the client base didn't want to be on camera,
No.
and so it bombed. Like it was just, and it's like you kind of watch it and it's slightly embarrassing.
I
And
can't think of a single client of mine, wealthy or not wealthy, that would want, that would be super interested in doing a show like that.
I feel like I maybe had one.
Yeah. But like,
Like,
and their budget isn't the budget that people want to see, the 10 million to 15 million.
yeah,
Those 10, 15 million people, they're real quiet.
they're oddly quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's. Have you heard the term quiet luxury?
Yes. I love
It's
it.
it's very much like San Francisco, Marin County. Marin is just north of us.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like pretty big stars live in Marin,
Mm-hmm.
but quiet luxury is they'll wear the hoodie, but it's like an $800 hoodie. And
Exactly.
if you know, you know. And
Yeah.
if you don't
I was
know,
just gonna say it's the if you know thing.
and if you don't know, it's just a hoodie. And
Right.
so, but it's very low. It's like a very different low key. But that's where I have the philosophy, and I would assume you likely do too, is I really genuinely try to then treat all my clients the same, because that $500,000 studio buyer is connected to somebody, and my lifeblood is referrals,
Yes.
and their uncle is that CEO,
Mm-hmm.
and their parent is the person. One of my very first clients, his dad owned something like 600 doors in LA, and like he didn't have the financial wherewithal, but his dad came in and wrote the check, and then he later got the mortgage. And so like you don't know who's connected to who or where these dots connect. And so if you just treat everybody amazingly awesome and do your best to really service the client and their
I agree.
needs.
I think, yeah, I mean, it's like, I have incredible, like very high end properties, but I will also, because all of my business is 100% referral, it's like I actually have our director of operations who's on my team right now, it came from like a very, very good client who's very high up at a company. And the guy is just moving. So yeah, like we're closing on like a $500,000 unit right now. And I'm not too big for that, like
Yeah.
I spent my Saturdays with him. I did the inspection with him. And I do think sometimes people just assume that like I'm not going to deal with that anymore. And if you're in that place, I think that's awesome, right?
Well,
But like for me, it's 100% referral based. So there is never a part of me that if somebody comes in a price point that I don't, necessarily work in all the time, that I would never say no to anyone, right? Who is important to me.
You know, it's funny now that I'm thinking about it. I had these clients who pre-pandemic, probably like 4 years prior to, they bought a property in the city. I later found out it was a pied a terre for them, which was about half of the average price point here. So not a showstopper.
Okay.
And then recently they decided to sell their property that was outside of the city. I was able to get a referral for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's north of 3. And
Amazing.
now they're taking those proceeds and wanting to buy a place in the city.
Exactly.
And it's like, to your point, if you turn that first one down, all of this other stuff turns down. And they've also given me, now that I'm thinking about it, they've given me, I think 3 or 4 referrals, and 2 of those have closed.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, just do the work.
Just do the work, right?
Do it as best you can.
I also, when I was younger, I certainly did more rentals in Boston.
Mm.
I still do rentals for clients of mine. I do work with a couple of investors who buy 3, 4, or 5 units from me, and that's a whole different sort of slew of recon and numbers and science.
Oh, that's my brain melts when for that. I can't
I'm
do
like,
that.
I gotta sit down with my coffee at 6 a.m. and I need to just bang out spreadsheets for 2 hours, and I'll do it. For certain people, but like those come with rentals, right? So it's like, yeah, it's my team's gonna handle the rental, right? Maybe I can't do every rental showing, but like my team is gonna handle the rental for that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
my client, I'm like, I feel so obligated to my clients and the properties that I have sold them that it's my responsibility to make sure. I gave you a range on a rental price. Like, I got to go get that for you now, right? I said I would, so I got to go do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I had a client who asked me to rent something for them when I was very, very young. And then, but it's all things happen. There's a leak. There's all these things. I just dealt with it. And then they bought like a $5.5 million property from me. It's just, you never know where it comes from, right? And so
Yeah.
just hang tight and do your best job. And, those clients that, because it's all referral based, it's like those clients still call me when their roof leaks. Like,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
call me when they're thinking about renovating their kitchen. Who should I use? Like, and all my clients do when they are in a bind. They're like, oh my God, my heat went. I'm like, call this guy. And I treat my contractors like clients too, because
Yeah.
I need them in the
Yeah.
emergent situations because my
Yes.
clients call me. So, contractors get Christmas gifts. For my personal stuff, they'll, say I'm charging you nothing, and I'll say, no, 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 you got to take something, So
Yes.
I just feel like treating everybody with kindness is so important.
Hey, friends, I have a small favor to ask. For me to continue to bring you outstanding guests who share their best kept secrets for growing a successful real estate business, please take a moment and hit that like button so agents like you can find this content. And also hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss out on any new episodes. Now, back to our show. Yeah, I 100% agree. I feel that should not be overlooked is how important those vendors are and
Oh,
how good they make you look.
I would die
And
without them. Die. And
I
they
would be dead in the water. Same. Yeah, they know it too. I
yeah.
mean, I was just thinking, I sold a property and it was like crazy, but we closed on like a Thursday or Friday. And then we got the worst rainstorm in like 40 years on the Saturday. And my
Mm-hmm.
client calls crying, the
Mm-hmm.
roof is leaking.
Yep.
And I'm like gutted. I'm like, oh my God. She's like, I've called 4 contractors. No one is even returning my call. And I was like, give me a minute. And I knew exactly who to call. I was like, Joel, listen, I need to call in a favor and I need you right now. He's like, what's the address?
And that is the stuff, like the other sort of like intangibles, right? Like, of course, like
Yes.
the knowledge we have, the off market knowledge, but like, a consumer will call a roofer once or twice, in their home ownership, right? Or they'll redo their kitchen once, maybe
Good
twice. They
point.
need a plumber. I talk to my plumbers, electricians, contractors, roofers. I talk to these guys a couple times a month at
Yeah.
least, sometimes more. So they're quick to answer my calls, and it makes you look so like that's the stuff that your clients who spend their time in front of spreadsheets or and as engineers, like they don't have that, and you can't buy that.
You
So
can't buy that list.
you can't buy
Like
that list.
that's the little
We
black book.
will call you back at 10 p.m., or 6 p.m. on a Friday and
Yes.
show up because you need it. Yeah. I had a closing a month ago, and it was like we had to close on that because she had to close the next day. So we needed the proceeds for the next one. She's moving out the day before her closing or of her sale, and she calls me and she goes, "My boiler went." And
Oh
we knew
shit.
it was teetering, like it was old. And I was like, he can't close without heat. And then
Yeah.
you're not gonna be able to close on your next place, and you have your movers there right now. I called in my plumber and I said, "You're gonna kill me. Can you do it today?" And he's like, "Can I do it tomorrow?" I was like, "No, the walkthrough's at 9." He's like, "Ricka." And he did it. And it would have screwed up. She wouldn't have had a place to go. She wouldn't have been able to close on the next place. It would have been a nightmare. And I will forever be eternally grateful, as will my client.
Yeah. And that's, treat them if treat those vendors
Gold. Like
like
clients.
gold. Treat
Yep.
them like clients. Treat them as good or better than clients because
100%.
they are your team. They are the extension of
100%.
you and how they're showing up and what they're doing and how they're representing. They're ultimately representing you.
They are.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we live in
Yeah.
cities where we don't have, and I don't know what about San Francisco, but like we are short on plumbers, electricians,
Big
masons,
time.
carpenters
Nationally, we're short.
nationally, right? So, and then
Yeah.
you add going into the city where there's no parking and they don't want to come in, right? And they don't have to because they have enough business where people have
Yeah.
driveways. So it's like the list of people who will do a good job and will come into the city and know what they're doing are finite. So when you find them, you like hold them tight and treat them right.
100%. And then the other layered craziness we have is some buildings those vendors have to be on like a
Hmm.
preferred list.
Hmm.
And so which adds like another layer to your point of like I need it now, but now you have another threshold to get through. And then having those vendors know how to kind of work around those rules and regulations to get you what you ultimately need. It takes a village. Like
I'm like,
and
I've done it where it's like in a building that you need to be on a required list, and those guys are booked years in advance. And I brought in my I like kind of like I was like, put on a nicer jacket, and then I had a big tote bag. It was like it was repairing a door. And I said, "This is my uncle." We went in and we just fixed it. We got around it for
yeah,
$100 out of
we've
the
kind of
wait.
hey, kind of sometimes you got to just do what it takes. Like,
Yep,
just,
for sure.
get
Well,
it done.
yeah.
As Andy Bovender out of Carolina says,
I
GSD,
know it, Andy.
get shit done.
Yeah, you just gotta. That's exactly right. You just gotta get you done, and if that requires you dressing up your handyman from West Virginia and putting his tools in your coat and calling him your uncle, like so that it closes on time, like that, you're just gonna do it.
You just, yeah. I sometimes, I swear to God, with my business partner, Nancy, it's like, here's the problem. Okay, how much will it cost us if we just throw money at it? How
Can we
much?
fix
And
100%?
it's like 2 grand, fine. Cut
Done.
the check. I don't care. Just get
I'm with you.
like there's gonna be no blowback after. Let's just get it done and move forward.
I am
And
1000% with you. If I can, if there's a world where it's possible to just fix it with that, I would much rather all day take a loss than my clients feel like they've taken
yeah.
a loss.
Yeah, especially if it's like that teetering point or it's hinged to all these other trigger events.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can't even tell
It's
you how
not
much
worth it.
money I've. What's up?
It's just not worth it. It's never worth it.
It's not worth
Thousands,
it.
it's just never worth it.
Yeah, I mean, and not for nothing. It's like your clients are already so freaking stressed out, and if you
Well,
can
for the
just solve it, and it's, I don't mean to sound casual money, but if it's a few $100, it's like just fix the problem and
I just
call
did
the
that.
hauling company or do whatever, just like get it done.
I they thought it was like going to be a $500 fix for this Wolf stove top, and we got a quote. They came out. Wolf was like, "Yeah, we can't do it." And it was like right before the 4th of July, and my clients were having people over. So we had done a $500 holdback, and a new one was $2,000. And I literally said,
Oof.
it's not, it's fine. We're gonna take the 500. I'm gonna call and I'm gonna pay for it. You just give me the five. We're good. It's gonna be installed next Monday. And they were just so grateful. And it's like,
Yeah. Well, then you have a client for life. They're like, wow, like she could have handled that any which way, but really took care of us. And now there's like this different level of like trust, and they just know like you're actually out there covering their butts, and it just changes the landscape.
my boyfriend's teenage daughter was in the car while I was having this conversation. She looked at me when we hung up and she goes, "You just gave away like almost $2,000 and you didn't even blink." I was like, "That's the way this business goes." And she was like, "That's crazy. It's her $2,000 is the end of the world, right?" She's like, "Think of all the support I could buy." But she
That's
goes,
the
"You didn't even think about it." I'm like, "There's nothing to think about."
that's the cost of doing business. It's just you have it's yeah. There's having a happy client. It's not even happy. It's thrilled
Yeah.
or ecstatic
Yeah.
is more important for the healthier business on the long term. Short term, it's a terrible business idea,
Yes, for sure.
right? Long term,
And everybody's
you
business model is different, right? So it's like if
it's
you
true.
have, if you're buying your leads and you're a churn and burn and like, then no, it probably doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah,
But if you are in a 100% referral-based business,
just do the
it
right
takes a
thing.
lot of time to get there, right? But
Yeah,
it's like once you're there, it becomes so sustainable, and it's because of doing the stuff, the extras.
it's the little stuff,
Mhm.
and it'll pay for itself.
100%.
5, 10 years from now when they're like, "Hey, we're thinking about selling," you're like, "Great,
Totally.
I'm happy to help."
Totally.
Jillian, this was really
So
refreshing.
fun.
I enjoyed it. Like
Me
I feel like we covered so much really good stuff for people.
I'm like, did we? I have no idea what we talked about because, as you know, as realtors, we just talk.
this, this is what
But
we
I
do.
don't even know what we talked about.
Awesome. Well, that is a wrap, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.